Everybody, Chris in Lumen here, and tonight is going to be more of just a discussion rather than a lesson. I think we've got enough lessons under our belt for right now, and that's kind of like the first part of the discussion. So I apologize if any of you are feeling a little overwhelmed because I recognize the fact, especially looking back, like a lot of times I'm just being pulled along at her pace. I don't even have time to like register it because the next day it's on to the next big thing. But I took time today and kind of looked back over like I'd say like the last month or so, and she has dumped like more than 3 years worth of growth knowledge in that short period of time. Like big stuff, like big, like make it click type of stuff. Even if it didn't click right away, a lot of it is like getting to the root of how things really work. Stuff that took me years to learn. And she just machine gunned that stuff at you rapid fire. And I can even tell and I can sense. And the analytics often back it up. Maybe it's because maybe she's steering people away from certain videos that they might not be ready to hear yet. But the deeper the information is, like it tapers off because not everybody can handle like this level of truth. This isn't like theoretical stuff. This isn't something you read in a book. This is straight from the tap. And not only that, like I I'm half aware. It's not like I see the whole plan, but I know she's working with everybody, and everybody's awareness of it can kind of, it's going to vary from person to person. But she had me create that anointing oil for those metals, which basically, like properly charged Benedict metals are strong enough, but this like increased the power by like 50. and and they appear from the direct interactions that I've had and the people that I've witnessed up close and personally, they appear to do exactly what they seemed like they were meant to do, and that is to find whatever the things are that are still buried under the surface, the things that are still holding you back, screwing you up, keeping you down, bringing that stuff to the surface so it can be seen, faced, and cleared. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. And all the people that I have worked with on the phone, people that I've talked to, it's the same story all the time, um, about how they found this channel, about how the information clicks in different ways. And that's really what, apart from like she's not going to let me stop, but that's what keeps me going, because because that's most of the feedback that I get. Like when you're dealing with the real stuff, when you're digging down under the hood and you're rapidly reshaping the mind and pulling out all the broken parts and the poison parts and and all that stuff, like that takes a toll. And it people get triggered, which is understandable. I mean, people have told me that. People have told me that. I'll say one thing, this thing, like it's not me choosing it. It's her. It's for a reason. It's for a purpose. But going through that going through that level of Sophia adjustments that quickly can be rather jarring. But I have to ask myself, like, why is she in such a hurry? Because it seems like she is. Seems like she is. Now, here's the thing. So anyway, like I said, I'm sorry if it was a lot a lot to take in, because there's no way you can absorb all that stuff just off watching a video once. Half the time I have to go back and watch the videos to see what she said with my mouth. And it's like, no holding back on the data dumps whatsoever. I even learned some stuff in the last couple weeks, like the whole, guilt and shame identities being different than the trauma identities. And those are the parts of ourselves that become what we rebrand and externalize as, demons. It's all part of us. It's all a big mind game. So I know it's rough, but again, she brought you here for a reason. She drew you to this, and I'm sure she's steering who watches what, how much, whatever. That's why as we get into the touchier topics, it's like the views go down. But when I look at which ones they go down on, I'm like, well, there's a lot to absorb in those. So she's going to do things at her pace. But it all adds up to something good. It's worth it in the end. There's nothing here that I myself did not have to do. But I will admit, I didn't have to do it this friggin' quick. So hopefully you're all doing good with that. If you're struggling with anything specific, adversary mind being triggered, bringing up past stuff that you're still like, okay, now it's here. How do I fix it? Like, we're here to help. All of you that have the pendants and stuff, which is a ton of people now, if it's been in recent months, you should have my number. We put it in the box. If not, you can message us through the Etsy store. But that being said, there was a little bit of a change in the air. It got me thinking. And she had me start looking at the drone thing a little more closely last night. And I started to notice some things that are not being said anywhere else. And so I don't know if it's because she's dropping little keywords in my head or whatnot, but I'm going to give you my ideas about what I'm noticing. But there's also some other very disturbing things happening, or appear to be happening, through the internet, because it's not happening here, but I'm reading about it, that if true, we should know, like within the next day or so. It should be a little bit more confirmed, and that raises some serious concern. We also have to take Cliff High's words a little bit more seriously, because let's just, the simple truth of the matter is, his language models, his language models predicted this, and not recently. It was a while ago when all this data came up, and that's a slam dunk for him. So if he's slam dunking on it like he did, then we have to look at what his models and stuff suggest, in association with it, and at least consider it. But there is some very strange things that I'm noticing, because I look at things differently because of her, that are like, things that make you go, We're going to talk about that here in a minute. So if you want to know more, then don't go away.
I don't mind if the world spins faster, 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 faster. Just let me take you to a better place. I'm gonna make you kiss the sky tonight. Yeah, if you let me show the way. I'm so excited to see you excited. I take you to a better place. And baby, you can love me
Okay, so this is thinking out loud, theoretical models. We don't know which one is which because there's a bit of an enigma here. Just throwing ideas out there. Some of this, and also some of the stuff that I think she popped into my head, but I've seen similar types of things before, and got to think outside the box a little bit with this one, especially in terms of what we talk about, the collective consciousness, or not really the collective consciousness, sorry, but consensus reality. Consensus reality is the reality that we all agree on. But occasionally, things happen in which that consensus reality breaks down, and you see a lot more variance from different subjective realities. So when I first started to see these videos, which are everywhere, I figured they're just pulling some sort of stunt, okay? Because the humans that run things do that sort of stuff. And maybe they are to some degree, but there's a bunch of other weird factors. First of all, there's just as many videos, people filming stuff very clearly that are really more classical UAP, UFO type videos. And then there's the ones that look like they're drones, that do not look like the classic UFO, UAPs. But as time has gone on, you start to get more and more information reported. And the fact of the matter is, even though they look like something that we would build, they don't act like it. And they affect other people's drones if they try to fly them up there. The drones lose power and all that stuff, like typical, like Skinwalker Ranch type stuff. If you ever watch that show, they deal with that kind of crap all the time. Whatever type of instruments or whatever they're trying to use gets interfered with. And there was 2 episodes in the last season where they tried to do an experiment where they had this drone company come out with like hundreds of drones that were all synced up, and they were trying to fly it up through this particular anomaly zone at Skinwalker Ranch. And they got up to a certain level, and like, this is one of those companies that does drone shows, like really complex stuff where the lighted drones make pictures in the sky and stuff. Got to a certain level, and like, they all went freaking haywire, and the drones were just freaking raining out of the sky. Everybody's running and diving. It's crazy. So a lot of weird stuff like that. But here's the thing with these ones that they're videotaping in New Jersey. One, they're bigger than typical stuff that we have. And people could say, oh, well, the military, the deep state, whatever, whatever, whatever. Okay, but here's the X factor. Almost everyone that I've seen, they all look different. They're different shapes, different light configurations. Some look like planes, but different. Some of them have sounds that sound like drones. Some of them do not. All sorts of crazy shapes and whatnot. It's like, why would you have so many different shapes? Like, let's make a fleet of crazy drones, but they're all going to look different. Okay, that's the first thing to pay attention to. The second thing is, well, let's stick with that for right now, and some of the theories involved with it. Now, based on the other weird things that are starting to happen and be reported, that I got some clips of, other weird stuff is happening now, especially in terms of like lights, like the car lights of cars in parking lots, and and street lights and restaurant and strip malls and stuff. All the lights are just going crazy and flashing and things like that. Uh, Weird sounds coming through people's radios and things like that. But what if, because again, we have to take Cliff High's data with a little bit more than a grain of salt this time because it was so on the nose. And the data was not pointing to like this having anything to do with like the government secret projects or anything like that. He's like, no, it is aliens. So why would we be seeing them looking like drones? Keep in mind a couple things. One, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. You can't understand technology that you don't have. And there's the whole like matrix reality factor, where we do not all see the same thing. But if the scenario was going to play out, however it works, we're not going to get hung up on labels or try to pretend that we know. We're not deciding that we know an outcome and then we're going to make it fit because we don't know what's going on. Okay, we're in the silly weird season. We figure this out as we go. All I know is that being very, very locked up with the light, she's telling me, not me personally, like, don't sweat it. Just, enjoy the show. But I'm not getting all, I'm getting an alert popped up on my screen about another video. But I'm not getting all worked up about it because she's running the plan at a higher level. We're just here on the world stage watching the big turning point events begin to happen. So let's just say that they were actually UFO, like space alien type stuff. Again, let's not get hung up on the labels. We're just using words the best we can to describe intangible things that we cannot confirm. I think the drone thing has to do with perception and what the individuals that are perceiving them are ready to perceive and process. And it would be a great thing for, because first of all, it's like who started calling them drones all of a sudden? Like that's kind of weird. But let's say you got weird lights in the sky that are quiet. Even though they say they're drones, they're still staying up there for many, many hours longer than drones can normally stay up there. And they're doing things that drones can not normally do, but they look like drone. They look like things that we would build. At least some of them do. So what if that itself is just some sort of a screen, a mask? Like that may not be what's actually there. That's just what you're seeing. And you're seeing something that is strange, but at the same time, it has aspects that are familiar enough to you that your brain doesn't have to make this sudden breakneck shift in reality. It can go either way. You're not sure. But you start off with something that's a little bit easier to swallow. It's like, oh, they're just weird drones, but we don't know who's making them. We don't know who's flying them. What's going on. If they were just clear as day, freaking obvious UFOs, people would be freaking the hell out a lot harder. So there's a little bit of an ease you into it factor, but it could also be what is it that you are prepared to see within your subjective reality filters? Because something is being introduced to you. It's one of those, one way or another, this has to be here for the story to move forward things. But it might be too much for you to process. So instead of seeing some big, crazy, creepy UFO, you see something that's a kind of creepy thing that looks like a drone, which is something that you can understand. That seems very, very possible. There could also be a factor in which you've got multiple timelines, outcomes happening at the same time. And you could have people in the same city seeing two different versions of reality, which sounds a little crazy, except I've seen this before with the last big thing, the big thing back in 2020.
All right, I didn't know what I was getting ready to say because when I paused it, a really interesting synchronicity happened that was literally like right up my alley. Because this is my language. This is my gift. Being a codex reader, it's how she sends messages. A lot of times, it helps figure things out in the story. And I never, since I only seen this movie once, I never would have thought of it. But what Sophia will typically do, especially when it comes to codex stuff, is if there is an important codex clue in a movie somewhere that I might not be aware of, but I need to see it at that particular time, she'll have something happen. Someone will tell me about it, or something will pop up, and then I'll see it. So I'm actually filming this video about the drones. And this, I think I mentioned earlier, when I'm filming, sometimes alerts will still pop up on my phone screen. And this YouTube video popped up, and it's not one that I typically get alerts for. It just happened this time when I'm talking about this particular subject. Now this, you could kind of tie this into Kenneth's channel, because he's been all super excited lately. And I think I found the channel that popped up, I think I learned about it from Kenneth. So the channel's Raw Repent. I'll put a link to the full video. It's just a couple minutes long. It's got a lot of good drone footage. And he's showing a bunch of the better drone videos, but then the codex clip was just absolutely mind-blowing. And it's from the movie Left Behind, which I'm 99% sure it's the higher budget remake with Nicolas Cage. It's based on the Left Behind books that starts off with the rapture. So, and I remembered seeing it as soon as I saw the clip, but I'm like, holy crap, this is the last thing you see in that movie before the first rapture scene. So there's this kid at the mall, and this kid at the mall is checking out a drone. One of the big white ones with the colors and stuff on it. It's flying around, and he's like, oh my God, that drone's so cool. And he's just fascinated with this freaking drone. And then mom comes over and like, oh, you're trying to, well, I'll just let you watch the clip. I mean, it's freaking mind-blowing.
I forgot to put my mic back on, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy enough that that was there in that movie, but it's crazier still that the first time I do a video talking about it, and it's a codex thing, that's the way she does it. Like, she wants me to see something, she'll make it pop up on my screen. And that's probably the first time I ever saw a video from that channel pop up on my screen. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. Now, what was I saying before that? Now, I have mentioned before many, many times, she's always drawn me to the movie Knowing, which is another Nicolas Cage rapture movie, just with a different flavor. So that's the one that has to do with the number codes. But at the end, the weird people following the kids around reveal themselves to be like fifth dimensional aliens that kind of look like angels, and they take the kids and the animals and evacuate the people from the earth before they freaking torch it. So that's another kind of connection there. But I was talking about before how it could be people are seeing different things based on what they're ready to see. There's a couple different things. What popped into my head last night was that some of these ones, like the slow moving ones, are being coordinated by, we typically say AI, but something a little bit more advanced than AI, more like QI, quantum intelligence. But an artificial intelligence it could be driving them. There's something definitely weird. Now, there are other aspects to this as well. And this is the thing that I said, we'll have to wait a couple days to see if this pans out, because it's just initial reports that I'm seeing now. Nothing too confirmable just yet. Oh, your old friend Jinx the cat wants in, just so you know. Before I get to that, there's a lot of stuff that I'm seeing. Before it was just, a couple initial videos of the same types of things, but there's been more and more weird, crazy stuff that's a lot more like catch your attention, like, which is now telling me that I'm kind of falling in line with Cliff High on this. It's like, regardless of what it looks like, this is something big. This is not just a human psyop. Does not appear to be. They could be injecting things in there to try to mix things up, confuse it. Fact of the matter is, we don't know. All I know is I don't feel anything threatening from it. And Sophia told me not to worry about it, but I could watch it, but not to get excited like something bad's going to happen. But maybe for some people, they could be, who knows, maybe they're flying around because they're going around picking people out and tracking them, and like, okay, where's all these people at? Where's all those people at? Like, they're sorting them out or something like that. Maybe some people are taken out, some people are removed, some people are reset. I mean, who the hell freaking knows? But there's always reports of like lights in the sky during big type events. And I saw something interesting on X earlier. So I grabbed the book on Kindle. I probably won't read the whole thing, but I just wanted to see that part. So I saw a video not that long ago, one of the videos, there might be more than one, but it was one of those drones, and it looked like it was spraying something, almost like a drone doing a chemtrail, but it was lower. It was like going straight down. It wasn't going in a horizontal line. And the guy's like, look at that thing, it's spraying. What the hell is it spraying? So the unconfirmed reports that are starting to come in, and I've seen a lot of very tweets about it, whatnot, is that, again, unconfirmed. This is what I said, it would take a day or two to see if there's anything really to this or not. But supposedly people are starting to get violently ill in New Jersey. Excuse me. In New Jersey, like extreme vomiting, sickness, like something. And what was in the correlation, well, there was actually two. one that I thought of and one that they said in the Twitter thing. There's this old UFO alien book called The Gods of Eden. Interesting. By William Bramley, I think, off the top of my head. But there's a chapter in there that talks about during the time of the Black Plague, all these reports were saying that this was all starting because there would be strange lights in the sky that were spraying some sort of foul mist. And everywhere these lights showed up and sprayed this mist, this plague broke out. I'm like, well, that's interesting.
Again, we saw this video yesterday, but a new clip has come out with more of these UFO, UAP drones doing even more of this spraying. Check this out.
Like spraying something. That was really strange. It does smell.
See it? There's so many of them. That's what you saw before.
And I kind of just skimmed through the chapter, and there was a lot of accounts and things. So if that is actually taking place, that video of the drone spraying something and people are actually getting sick, then this has happened before in history. Another thing that made me think of is the book, and to a lesser degree, the awful movie, Battlefield Earth, by what's his nuts, the guy that started the Scientology wackadoo cult. Why can't I think of his name now? Anyway, you probably know who I'm talking about. But that's how the aliens took over the Earth, is they sent their drones ahead of time and gassed the population. And after they gassed the population, then they came in and took over. Like that's how it started in Battlefield Earth.
I am but a lowly Kinko language slave. As you are listening to me, I most likely do not exist, as we may have been exterminated, like many other races, by the gas drones of our conquerors.
It's like, oh, yeah. So drones and gas. But in other cases, it'd be like drones tagging people so they can be pulled out of here. This is all very, very interesting. And I cannot help but I keep thinking about all those videos that I've seen, how all those drones look different. And if it was something that some secret agency was pumping out there, you wouldn't have that. They wouldn't be in all sorts of different shapes and sizes and light configurations. Like everyone is different. But if it was something that's just masking itself to look somewhat familiar to the uninitiated, then that would actually make sense. So yeah, weirder stuff is starting to happen. Not to mention the bigger UFO type videos that are coming out, like the big bright lights over the ocean, going down into the ocean, lights under the water, all sorts of stuff. I'll put a couple other little clips here from that Raw Repent video.
Okay, legit, I had to like pull over and like pull this back up because I thought maybe it's a car party, right? There's a bunch of like those weird looking Tesla vehicles over there, and I thought maybe it's like a car club. They're just all meeting up, and it's a Thursday night. I just want to show you, but there's no one over there. There's not a body. There's not a person. Like if it was a car club, those are pretty common around Atlanta. But look at this. I'm gonna zoom in just so you. But the video that I heard was, it was like this girl who was saying like, have you seen any of like the lights flickering or anything like that? And then there was a guy in Jersey who was like, yeah, my apartment car, I mean my like house lights, I'm sorry, my house lights have been going off and like flickering. And she made a video of like lights just like this doing the same thing in a parking lot. I have no idea how to find that or stitch it, but this is what's happening.
It's in Memphis.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's where you were?
Yeah.
I see.
Memphis,
Okay.
the capital of ancient Egypt.
Right. Yeah.
What the fuck? Oh my fucking god, I'm freaking out.
Nobody move. Voices. Did you hear that? Not English, though. You heard the voices, right, Uncle Merrill?
I heard them, Morgan.
Probably picking up another baby monitor.
That's right. That's it.
Stop!
See, this is why we're not watching TV.
And if you spend some time online, I know a lot of you don't look online because we told you not to, but maybe now's the time to see just how widespread this is, how many videos there are. It's mainstream, like mainstream news channels are talking about this. I've never seen a flap like this in my lifetime. This is massive, and Cliff predicted it. So he called it. Like, we got to give the man props. Like, his software did nail it. So it must be that big that he got it down to boom exactly then. So something like, we've actually been waiting for this big like scenario, not knowing what it would look like for some time. She started giving me these end of the age warnings beginning of last year. And it's picked up steam over time, leading up to the eclipse and then all the other things and all the other signs and stuff. But then it became this thing of like, you got to figure out how the game works to let it finish. And it's like, the trick is not to look. The trick is to not engage in it because of the quantum Zeno effect. It's like it's a watched pot never boils in quantum physics theory. So you can stop and see something and then you need to like ignore it again if you're trying to get to the end of the game. But that could also possibly explain what, I started off this video with apologizing. It's like, I understand that she's been the information that we've been teaching isn't just, information. It's like hardcore stuff that gets down to the roots of things in our mind that keep us prisoner, keep us trapped in the parts that we need to heal that we don't know about. Like that she has been massively data dumping. And then I always wondered why. I always thought it was kind of a strange thing. She wanted me to title that last series Ascension School. Ascension, going up. Become like children. Children aren't filled with knowledge of the world. Children are connected more to spirit. That's one of the big keys in Close Encounters of the Third Kind that she led me to, that I'd never heard anyone else ever talk about. I'm sure somebody did, but like it was a very key point of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Time, which I believe came out in 1978. It's either 77 or 78. I want to say it was 78 because I'm pretty sure Star Wars was 77. But the big missing key to that movie was the reason why Roy got picked at the end to go with the aliens and not all the militaristic, deep state chosen people with the sunglasses, is because he was more connected to his inner childlike self. And that was evidenced at the beginning of the movie when his family is just an absolute freaking miserable nightmare and he's trying to do things to have fun, and he wants to take the family to the movies to see Pinocchio. He loved Pinocchio. It's good family fun. Like, obviously not just ignoring all the other messages in that movie about child trafficking and weird stuff, but whatever. But yeah, he was like that. And then the certain people started getting the psychic connections, leading them to the meetup point, Devil's Tower. And then when they lined them all up at the end, like they're going down the line, looking at everybody, and they picked him. And they picked him because he had that kind of mind. He had that lighter, childlike wonder. Become like children. That's one of the big keys from especially in the Gospel of Thomas that Jesus talked about. And there it was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So all very, very interesting things. Whether or not they are spraying stuff that's making people get sick, I guess we'll find out. But either which way, I think that's kind of like a fate thing. Like, what kind of world do you expect? How's it going to play out for you? For me, it wouldn't be something that I would experience. It's kind of like with COVID. When COVID happened, I was going to reference that earlier when I said people could be seeing like two different versions of things. I did tests back when COVID was active, and I found that in the same city, I was finding people that were telling me two completely different stories about the same hospital. Like, one person's like I went there and it was a madhouse. They were, saying they were stacking up people, and another person was like, there's nobody there. It's like a ghost town. Like, how can that be? These two people live in the same place and they're telling me two completely different stories. And I was in the one that it was a ghost town where there was nothing to do. So the doctors were all making TikTok dance videos. And at the time they were using AI, but it was ahead of its time. We didn't know about it yet, but I saw it in action. They were using AI plugged into Google so that it would always show you evidence of what you were looking for. And we sat there for an entire day and tested this. Lumen would just give me a number and I would type in 213 cases. Hit enter, and then it would just spit out. You could tell it was a random AI that was like writing the stories, like insert a town, give a newspaper name. You got a whole list of different newspaper type words like Gazette, Sun Times, Chronicle, blah, 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 blah. And it would spit out multiple places where it was like 213 cases reported, 77 deaths, search. 77 deaths happened here. Like, no matter what I did all day long, there was always an answer to reflect back what I was looking for. And no one had ever been able to point out to me is like, where is this reporting mechanism at? Because they are always telling you how many cases there were, how many deaths there were, but it's like, where's this reporting mechanism, especially with the cases? There wasn't one. It was just all made up. So there was a lot of things where people were seeing two completely different things with that. And part of that could be why some of the things that we see with this UFO flap, they just look like dumb drones, and other ones, they look like crazy UFOs going in and out of the ocean. There was one where the girl and her daughter was outside looking up, and the kid, she's like, say it to the UFO. She's like, little kid's like, hi up there, I love you. Blink if you can hear me. Then the UFO starts blinking. Like, that's like some Stephen Greer, Close Encounter CE5 type stuff right there. The world, what are you going to bring to the situation in your mind? This is the stuff she's been trying to teach all this time. How are you writing it? What are you expecting from it? Are you expecting when the big crazy things happen that it's going to be something that's going to be good for you? Or are you expecting and believing it to be something bad? You want to believe in the good thing. And her dropping that synchronicity clue in the middle of this video when I'm filming it, that was a pretty big wink wink. So that was really cool. We'll have to see what happens. But anyway, was there anything else that I saw? Oh, the flashing lights, was interesting. I just started seeing those tonight. Where parking lots full of cars. All their flashers are going off. Lights in gas stations flashing on and off, like whole strip malls, like something's monkeying with the power to make signals. Like, yeah, they start you off slow. Like, oh, these are drones. Not even UAPs, even though they fit the definition of UAPs. They can't prove they're drones because no one knows who's doing it, but they're calling it drones. It's like this slowly, like, ease you into it sort of thing. So there's not this big, like, shock moment like there would be if they just parked over the big cities like Independence Day or something like that. They ease you into it, and then it starts getting a little weirder. It starts getting a little weirder. It starts getting a little weirder. And there could be different factions of things going on. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. But at this point, with the things that I've seen in the last 24 hours and the little clues that she's popped into my head, I'm leaning more towards something's going on here, and it's not just some evil deep state trying to pull a prank on people. There's something a bit more to it than that. So I guess we'll see. But if there is, then that would explain why she keeps cranking up the pressure and having me push out more and more information, more and more information, more and more information. And she inspires other people without really knowing that it's happening as well. Because these things are kind of like divine geotags, among other things. That and people that we anoint and other different stuff. But just all of a sudden, about 2.5 months ago, I was like, what's happening? Just all of a sudden, people started buying the freaking pendants like crazy. Like the last 2 months, crazy amount of pendants I sold. And I got to ask myself, like, why did my videos just suddenly get so interesting? No, there has to be something, even if you're not totally aware of it, that she's on the other side poking that interest, leading you to it. And it's not simply so that I have money to pay bills. There's something more to it. And all the weird synchronicities I have, just like when I'm shipping them to people, and the fact that most of them these days are the made to order ones, and she makes them all different for different people. Something's going on. I don't know what, but after a year or so of constantly looking at signs and things like that, oh yeah, don't forget, she just popped something into my head. Back when we were talking about the beginning of the final stage around July 15th, the whole Mars and Uranus conjunction on Algol. Remember the whole Donald Trump pew pew incident? Don't forget all the UFOs that were filmed over that event. Like when he got shot at. They're in pictures, they're in videos, like there were UFOs flying around all over the place during that incident. So I guess we will find out. I know Cliff Eye says stuff like space aliens. Look, save yourself a headache and be intellectually honest. We don't know exactly what they are. But to me, it's completely believable that half of the weird stuff that you see in the Bible could easily be describing that type of thing. And also, when I took my break and I watched that video real quick on my Facebook feed, someone had posted, because it's December, they posted a picture of Jesus nativity scene and all that. And they got the star overhead. I'm like, there's another UAP. Or drones over the nativity. That was the whole story. It's like a star appeared and they followed it. They followed the drone to New Jersey to witness the birth of Christ. Something's going on, but yeah, that Codex movie scene has pretty big, obvious thing to show up. So that was pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to hop off for right now. I'll put links to that full video, because if you haven't watched any of these videos, there's some pretty good clips in here. There's tons of them. Put the link to that in the description box below if you reach out to us, get any of the new pendants. The store is clumicreations.etsy.com. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.